Welcome back to Entertainment Explained, your go-to destination for unlimited movie recaps. Today we are going to enjoy a romantic love story called Sita Mahalakshmi. The story begins in 1964, where we see a terrorist leader standing in front of some boys, explaining why everyone is being sent to Kashmir. The terrorist leader's plan was to send some boys to stay in Kashmir and acquire Indian citizenship through manipulation, and then proceed with a much bigger plan after that. Among those boys, there was a boy named Rasul, who had a younger sister named Wahida. She was held by the terrorist leader. When these boys were sent to cross the border, they were stopped by Pakistani officer Abdul Tariq at a checkpoint. He then found out that these boys were going for a secret mission, but he didn't know about it because it was not an official government mission. That's why he does not let them pass. But soon he receives a call from his boss telling him that he should let them pass, and this mission should not be registered in any documents. After that call, unwillingly, Tariq lets them go. Now the story goes forward 20 years from here, and we see a Pakistani girl named Afreen who was studying in London. She had a strong dislike for India and Indian people, and she would often shout slogans against them. Once she sees a car with an Indian flag inside, and expressing her support for Pakistan, she sets the car on fire. The car she burned belonged to a very powerful and influential person. He then goes to Afreen's college, where she is asked to apologize to him. However, Afreen being Afreen, she refuses to say sorry to an Indian. In response, the man says, "If you don't want to ask for forgiveness, then you have to pay for the car you burnt. The amount is £1,000. If you are unable to pay this amount, then you will be sent to prison." But she didn't have much money, so she thinks of going to her grandfather who lived in Pakistan. When Afreen was little, her grandfather forcefully sent her to London to study, which made her very angry, and she never returned to meet her grandfather. But now she needs money, so unwillingly, she has to come back. As soon as Afreen reaches Pakistan, she finds out that her grandfather passed away a long time ago, and her grandfather was none other than Abdul Tariq. Then her grandfather's lawyer meets her and lets her know that, in order to claim her inheritance, she needs to fulfill her grandfather's last wish. His last wish was for her to find and deliver a letter to Sita Mahalakshmi, who lives in India. Actually, this letter was written by Lieutenant Ram, and Tariq promised him that he would give this letter to Sita Mahalakshmi. However, before he could do this, he died. As she doesn't have any other option, she unwillingly goes to India and reaches the address written on the letter. When she arrives at Nurjahan Palace, she learns that the palace has been transformed into a girls' college. After searching for a while, she couldn't find a girl named Sita Mahalakshmi. After getting no clue about Sita, she gets an idea. Before finding Sita, we should start with Ram, as he was a lieutenant, so he must be registered in army records. After looking for a while, they find Ram's army file where they discover a photo of him. From that file, they also learn about his old friend, Vikas. For more information about Ram, they start looking for Vikas. After finding Vikas, he starts telling them about Ram's past. From here, the story goes into a flashback where in an Indian base camp located near the LOC, Ram is checking the weather conditions. It has been snowing for the past 3 days, blocking all the routes, and they have been hungry for 2 days. However, the weather conditions are worsening. While searching for weather updates, Ram notices some people crossing the LOC border. Ram thinks they are local people also searching for food, but his boss believes they are terrorists, taking advantage of the bad weather to cross the border. After stopping them, Ram and his team find out that they are indeed local people who came for the army to provide food. But Ram's boss, Vishnu, doesn't like Ram, and he was furious when he was wrong, and Ram was right about the local people. However, Ram doesn't mind Vishnu's behavior towards him. In the next scene, we see the terrorist leader receiving news that all of his boys are now fully settled in Kashmir. In response, the leader orders someone to deliver this photo to the Indian army through Jamil. His plan is to sacrifice some of his boys, so when the Indian army kills these young boys, the perspective of the local people will change towards the Indian army, and they will think that the Indian army is a killer that targets young boys. As a result, the local people turn against the army, and religious riots erupt in the valley. To solve this problem, Ram starts looking for Jamil. After finding him, Ram beats Jamil in order to know their true plan, and in front of all the village people, Jamil accepts that this was his plan, and those boys were terrorists. This regains their trust on the army, and the riot stops there. After this incident, Ram becomes the local hero. After some time, a reporter from All India Radio comes to meet him for interview. During the interview, Ram reveals that he is an orphan with no family. As soon as this interview airs, the whole of India gets to know about Ram's story and is deeply moved by it. This results in many letters being sent to him from across the country. The entire nation accepts him as a family member, addressing him as their son, brother, and friend. This makes Ram very happy, and he starts replying to those letters. One day, while reading those letters, Ram finds a letter from Sita claiming to be his wife and asking him, "How dare you tell people that you don't have any family?" This letter makes him very confused yet happy. They start sending each other love letters like this. After a while, Sita reveals in a letter that she is going from Delhi to Hyderabad to see a magic show. After reading this letter, Ram decides to go to Hyderabad to meet Sita. After searching for a while, he is able to find her on a train going from Delhi to Hyderabad. After meeting her for the first time, Ram was mesmerized by her beauty. She was as beautiful as her letters. Ram tells her that he is going to stay with his friend for the next few weeks, and if she wants to meet him, she can come to this address. Then he leaves to meet his friend Durjoy, who works in a local theater as an actor. Ram eagerly starts waiting for Sita at his friend's house, but she didn't come. After a while, when Ram was about to lose hope, she came to meet him at his friend's house. While talking to her, Ram starts mentioning their letters to each other. To this, Sita replies and tells him that those letters were not serious. She thought they were only harmlessly flirting with each other, and she didn't imagine that Ram would take them seriously. This breaks Ram's heart, but actually, Sita was teasing him. She also loved him deeply but was playing hard to get. Now, the story comes back to the present where Vikash tells Afreen that he doesn't know what happened to Sita and Ram after that. Still, if you want to know more, they should visit Durjoy. He might know something. In the next scene, we see Ram's old officer, Vishnu, celebrating because he is about to retire. However, he receives the news that there is a girl named Afreen who is looking for Ram. This makes him very anxious, and he orders his men to locate the girl and gather more information about her. Meanwhile, Afreen and her friend reached Durjoy's house and started asking him about Ram and Sita. Here, the story goes back to a flashback where Durjoy tells them that after meeting Sita, Ram didn't believe her when she said she didn't love him. He went to meet her at the magic show mentioned in her letter. At the show, a friend of Sita informed Ram that Sita didn't expect him to come so suddenly. Ram found out that Sita is a dance teacher at Noorjahan Palace. Eventually, Sita also surrenders and starts spending time with Ram. One day she revealed that they didn't meet on the train for the first time. Instead, they had already met in the valley during those riots. However, Ram didn't notice Sita and saved her from the goons. From then onward, she fell in love with him. After knowing this, Ram also expresses his love for Sita and makes the decision to marry her. To meet Sita again, Ram goes to Noorjahan Palace, where Sita used to teach dance to the princess. After finding Sita, Ram expresses his love to her and proposes marriage. However, instead of answering him, Sita runs away from there. Now, the story comes back to the present, where Durjoy shows a picture of Sita, taken by Ram when she came to meet him at his house. After this, Afreen goes back to Noorjahan Palace in the hope of finding Sita with the help of her picture. As soon as she reaches the palace, she is greeted by a very big portrait of a beautiful girl, and she was none other than Sita Mahalakshmi. But the strange thing was, under the picture, the name of the lady was not Sita, but Noorjahan. Then the secret is revealed, that Sita was actually Princess Noorjahan, who fell in love with a common army man. In the next scene, Vishnu is sitting with Vikas, asking him about Afreen and why she is looking for Ram. He learns that she is the granddaughter of the Army General of Pakistan who lives in London. After this, Vishnu orders his men to capture Afreen and bring her to him. Now the story takes us back to a flashback where we discover that Princess Noorjahan was a very simple and big-hearted woman who loved helping little girls and people in need. Noorjahan used to share everything with her friend Rekha. Noorjahan tells Rekha that Ram has proposed to her for marriage, and Rekha suggests that Noorjahan should tell him the truth, that she is royalty, and her name is Noorjahan, not Sita. If she doesn't reveal the truth now, it will hurt Ram very much when he discovers the reality. In the next scene, we see that in Oman, there is a big financial crisis. The Sultan of Oman takes control of every industry, including Noor Jahan and her brother's company. Due to this, they are losing a lot of money. To solve this problem, Noor Jahan's brother, Akbar, suggests that they should send a marriage proposal for Noor Jahan to the Sultan's son. Meanwhile, Ram meets Sita, thinking that it is too early for him to ask her for marriage. Because of this, Sita gets scared and runs away that day. Ram says that she can take as long as she wants. She should first get to know him, and after that, she can make her decision. However, Sita is already in a conflict where she has to choose between her family or Ram. Ram's leave is about to end in 4 days, and before his leaves are over, he decides to meet everybody who has written him a letter. Sita also agrees to go with him. After meeting his family from the letters, the day has arrived, where Ram has to go back to his job. Ram tells Sita about his train and asks her to meet him before his train leaves. Sita also decides to go meet him. But as she's about to leave, some people from Oman come to meet her and give her the news that the Sultan has agreed to the marriage proposal. Sita couldn't meet Ram for the last time, which breaks Ram's heart. Meanwhile, we find out that there was a reporter who used to follow Sita everywhere in search of breaking news. While Sita was traveling with Ram, that same reporter took their photos together and published a breaking news story stating that Princess Noor Jahan is in love with a common army man. This news spread like wildfire, and the Sultan of Oman gets to know about it. In response, he sends his men to inquire whether this is true. Noor Jahan replies that indeed she is in love with Ram and can't marry anybody else. She then leaves for Kashmir to meet Ram. After seeing Sita in Kashmir, Ram is very happy. Then the story comes back to the present, where Afreen is sitting with Rekha and asking about Princess Noor Jahan. Rekha tells her that Princess Noor Jahan now lives in London and shares her telephone number. When Afreen dials that number, she finds out that Princess Noor Jahan is currently in Kashmir. As soon as Afreen reaches Kashmir, she gets arrested by the army and brought to Vishnu, where she is asked, "Why are you inquiring about the Indian army traitor Ram?" When Afreen hears the word traitor, she is shocked and can't believe how a person like Ram could betray his own country. Then suddenly, Vishnu comes to meet Afreen and tells her the truth that Ram is not a traitor. In fact, he is in great debt to Ram and her grandfather, Abdu Tariq. The story goes back into a flashback, where we find Ram and Sita entering a restaurant. There, they see Vishnu and his wife already sitting. When Vishnu's wife sees Ram, she invites them to join. After a while, a young boy comes behind Vishnu, aiming his gun at his head, trying to kill him. That boy is actually Rasul, who wants to kill Vishnu because his brother died in the valley. Ram takes control of the situation and tells him that they received a picture from Jamil, with the information that these boys are terrorists, and Rasul has been betrayed by his own people. Ram manages to convince Rasul to help them and share their leader's location in return for saving his sister, Wahida. After obtaining the intel from Rasul, the army plans a secret operation to attack the terrorist leader and destroy their base camp. Since this operation is covert, if anybody is captured by the Pakistani army, the Indian army will deny all connections with the soldiers, and they will be marked as traitors in the Indian army. The next day, before leaving for the mission, Ram meets Sita and tells her about the operation. Although they were not supposed to share this information with anybody, Ram informs Sita that he will be back very soon and leaves for his mission. After facing many challenges, Ram and his team successfully find the terrorists and eliminate them. As they were about to leave, Ram hears a little girl crying. She was Wahida. So, Ram and Vishnu go to save Wahida. However, as they attempt to leave, they are captured by the Pakistan's army. Subsequently, they are tortured by the army, and Abdu Tariq comes to meet them asking, "You could have easily left with your other teammates, but why did you choose to save that girl?" He mentions that now, both of them are prisoners of Pakistan, and their own government has declared them traitors. Abdu Tariq was a good man and used to follow rules. He used to bring them food and clothes. Meanwhile, Sita and Vishnu's wife go to meet the army chief, asking where Ram and Vishnu are. To answer this, The chief says they themselves left their post and crossed the border, making them traitors. Sita, being Princess Nur Jahan, uses her power to put pressure on the army chief by calling the prime minister. After seeing Sita cry, the army chief tells her the truth, that Ram is not a traitor, and they were successful in their mission because of Ram. Unfortunately, Ram and Vishnu were captured by Pakistan's army and are being tortured by them. He also tells her that she should lose hope of seeing Ram again. In the next scene, an Indian officer goes to meet a Pakistani officer proposing a deal to free their soldiers in exchange for Pakistan's soldiers. The Pakistani officials agree to release Ram and Vishnu in return for their soldiers. All of this happened because of Abdu Tariq. He was the one who managed to contact India and gave them this idea for the exchange of soldiers. However, soon after, Abdu receives a call from his boss, mentioning that they are going to release only one soldier, Ram and Vishnu. Have to make the decision about who will go back home, Ram says. Anyways, I don't have any family, so no one is waiting for me, and suggests letting Vishnu leave in his place. Then the story comes back to the present, where Officer Vishnu is telling all of this to Afreen. He explains that after he got released from Pakistan that same year, some of their army camps were attacked by the Pakistani army. Everyone thinks that Ram shared the location of those camps, but Vishnu believes that Ram couldn't betray his own country. He blames Afreen for their troubles and reveals that Afreen was the girl, Wahida, they tried to save but got caught. After listening to this, Afreen was shocked as she got to know that she was adopted by her grandfather, and he changed her name from Wahida to Afreen. She realized that she is now alive just because of Ram, and now she finally understood why her grandfather gave her the task of delivering Ram's letter to Sita. In the next scene, we see Sita in Kashmir. Sita used to come to the same place once a year where Ram and Sita spent their last night together just to relive their last moments. Meanwhile, Afreen had already been caught by the army, but her friend Balaji was free. He goes to see Sita and delivers Ram's last letter to her, in which he mentions that he loves her so much and he is not a traitor. It's sad that we couldn't live together in this lifetime, but I promise you, in our next life, we will meet again. When Vishnu gets to know that Sita is in Kashmir, he tells his men to find her as soon as possible. Vishnu doesn't want Sita to read Ram's letter. If she reads it, Vishnu will get caught. The story goes back to a flashback where the Pakistani army made a deal with Vishnu to tell them the Indian Army's base camp locations in return for his release. Vishnu was the one who shared the locations of those base camps. Although they offered the same deal to Ram, he rejected it, saying that he would never betray his own country. As Sita was reading Ram's letter, she found a newspaper cutting attached to the letter. This made it clear that while writing the letter, Ram knew that Sita was, in fact, Princess Nur Jahan. After reading the letter, Princess Nur Jahan shared Ram's letter publicly, proving that he was not a traitor. In fact, Vishnu was the traitor, and before anybody could catch Vishnu, he committed suicide. If you've seen Sita Ramam, share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you love about the film, and what messages did you take away from it? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more content, and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until next time, happy watching.